A quiet revolution is rolling off the docks at the port of Vancouver, not with fanfare, but with the silent hum of electric motors. Ship after ship laden with sleek, affordable electric vehicles from China is being welcomed into the heart of North America. But this is not just a story about cars. It is a geopolitical gambit of stunning audacity. And the target, whether intended or not, is the very core of the American industrial heartland. While Washington slaps 100% tariffs on Chinese EVs, declaring economic war, its closest ally and neighbor has opened the back door. Canada is not just allowing these vehicles in, it is actively welcoming them with lucrative consumer incentives and open arms. This move, calculated and profound, has sent shockwaves through the White House and Detroit alike. It represents a fundamental rupture in continental economic strategy, a betrayal in the eyes of some, a masterstroke of sovereign pragmatism to others. Our investigation reveals the hidden tensions, the urgent back-channel communications, and the stark reality. Canada has just made a pivotal choice between its historic alliance and its future economic survival. And Donald Trump, poised on the brink of a potential return to power, has been caught completely off guard. The stage for this confrontation was set not in Ottawa, but in Washington. The previous administration's renegotiation of NAFTA, resulting in the USMCA, was hailed as a victory for American workers. It contains strict rules of origin designed to keep automotive manufacturing and investment within North America. The unspoken assumption was a united front. The Biden administration, continuing a hardened bipartisan stance against China, doubled down. The recent quadrupling of tariffs on Chinese EVs to over 100% was a declaration. It was a wall built around the continent. But walls only work if your allies are inside them, building the same barrier. Canada looked at that wall, looked at its own stagnating auto sector, and looked at the tsunami of Chinese automotive innovation, and it made a different calculation. The numbers are staggering. Chinese EV manufacturers like BYD, NIO, and XPeng are not coming. They have arrived. They are establishing headquarters in Ontario, exploring battery plant sites in Quebec, and signing deals with major Canadian dealership networks. Why? Because a Canadian consumer can receive a federal incentive of up to $5,000 on the purchase of a qualifying electric vehicle. And many of these new Chinese models, priced thousands below their American equivalents, do qualify. For a middle-class Canadian family, the math is irresistible. This is not an accident, it is policy. The Trudeau government's zero-emission vehicle mandate requires that 20% of all new vehicles sold be electric by 2026, a number that rockets to 100% by 2035. The existing North American automakers are struggling to produce enough affordable EVs to meet that demand. China has the capacity, the technology, and the price point. Canada faced a simple choice: miss its own climate targets and leave consumers with limited, expensive options, or open the market to the world's EV leader. It chose the latter. The diplomatic fallout is unfolding in real time. Sources within Global Affairs Canada describe a series of tense and direct calls from U.S. Trade Representative Catherine Tai to her Canadian counterpart Mary Ng. The message was blunt. This undermines the spirit of the USMCA and bolsters a strategic adversary. American officials argue that Chinese EVs are a national security threat, their software and data collection capabilities posing an espionage risk. By welcoming them, Canada is introducing a Trojan horse into the integrated North American transportation grid. The Canadian response, delivered with calibrated politeness, has been equally pointed. Ottawa argues the U.S. tariffs and the Inflation Reduction Act's massive subsidies for American-made EVs are themselves profoundly protectionist. They divert investment south of the border, starving the Canadian auto industry. The Windsor, Ontario battery plant, a joint venture with Stellantis, nearly collapsed last year until Ottawa matched IRA subsidies dollar for dollar at a cost of over $15 billion. From Canada's perspective, America fired the first shot in this economic war. Welcoming Chinese investment is not an embrace of Beijing, it is a necessary diversification, a survival tactic in the face of American industrial policy that views Canada as an afterthought. The historical context here is crucial and rich with irony. The Canadian auto industry was born as a branch plant of Detroit. For over a century, its fortunes rose and fell with the Big Three. The 1965 Auto Pact cemented this dependency, creating an integrated market. But that integration always had a hierarchy. Headquarters, design, and major profits flowed to Michigan. Ontario assembled cars. The USMCA further entrenched American dominance. Now, China offers something Detroit never did, a partnership. Chinese firms are talking about full manufacturing plants, not just assembly. They are discussing R&D centers. They are offering a chance for Canada to be a leader in the next automotive era, not a follower. This is a seductive and dangerous proposition. The political tensions within Canada are equally fierce. The opposition Conservative Party, leading in polls, is hammering the government on national security grounds. They cite warnings from CSIS, Canada's spy agency, about the pervasive threat of Chinese foreign interference. How can we welcome their cars if we fear their influence in our elections? The government's counter-argument hinges on jobs and affordability. In towns facing factory closures, the promise of a new Chinese battery plant is a lifeline. For voters crushed by the cost of living, a $30,000 Chinese EV that qualifies for a $5,000 rebate is a tangible benefit. This is the brutal political calculus now being performed. The operational details on the ground reveal a swift and decisive Chinese strategy. BYD, the global EV giant that now outsells Tesla, has chosen Canada as its beachhead for North America. Its vehicles are already being tested in Canadian winter conditions. Its executives are scouting massive industrial sites. They are not just importing cars. They are preparing for localized production to bypass future tariffs and meet USMCA rules of origin. This is a long game, and China is playing it with patience and precision. They have studied the USMCA text and found a loophole. A vehicle manufactured in Canada with a significant percentage of North American content can be exported tariff-free to the United States. This is the nightmare scenario unfolding in Washington think tanks. A Chinese automaker using Canadian labor and resources could build a plant in Ontario and legally export its vehicles into the U.S. market under the preferential terms of the USMCA. The 100% tariff wall would be rendered meaningless. Canada, willingly or not, becomes China's gateway. The reaction from the traditional auto industry is a mixture of panic and anger. Lobbyists for Ford, GM, and Stellantis are flooding parliamentary offices in Ottawa. Their argument is existential. They cannot compete with the scale and state-backed advantages of Chinese manufacturers. Allowing these subsidized vehicles into Canada, they warn, will be the final blow for an already fragile ecosystem. Union leaders, historically the bedrock of the Canadian auto sector, are torn. Their members need jobs. But can they trust promises from Chinese state-owned enterprises? The very fabric of the industrial heartland is being pulled apart. The global strategic picture adds another layer of suspense. The United States is engaged in a full-spectrum competition with China, decoupling supply chains, restricting technology transfers, and building alliances like the CHIPS Act to ensure Western dominance. Canada's move is seen by many in Washington as a blatant breach of Allied solidarity. It provides China with a crucial foothold inside the Western Bloc. It fractures the unified economic front that is central to American strategy. For Europe, watching closely, Canada becomes a fascinating test case. The EU is also grappling with a flood of Chinese EVs and has launched its own subsidy investigation. Will they follow Canada's path of welcome or America's path of exclusion? Canada's experiment could define the trade war's next phase. The personal drama centers on key figures. Innovation Minister François-Philippe Champagne, the architect of Canada's aggressive investment attraction strategy, is flying to China for meetings, touting Canada's critical minerals as a key draw. He is portrayed at home as either a visionary or a naive pawn. In Washington, Donald Trump on the campaign trail has reportedly been briefed on the development. His reaction, according to sources close to his team, was characteristically volatile. He views it as a personal betrayal and a sign of weakness. Advisors are already drafting executive orders that would, if he regains power, not only uphold the tariffs, but potentially sanction Canadian entities doing business with Chinese automakers. The threat of a secondary sanctions regime targeting the very ally the USMCA was designed to protect is now on the table. The narrative suspense is relentless. Will the U.S. press for a rapid renegotiation of the USMCA's auto rules to explicitly exclude Chinese investment? Will Canada buckle under the pressure and impose its own security tariffs? Or will it double down, signing a comprehensive investment treaty with China that locks in its new trajectory? Every cargo ship arriving in Vancouver, every new dealership announcement is a data point in this escalating crisis. The human impact is already being felt. In Detroit, auto executives are revising their investment plans, questioning the logic of building in Canada if it becomes a conduit for Chinese competition. In Ingersoll, Ontario, where GM retooled a plant to build BrightDrop electric vans, workers worry their hard-won transition could be for nothing. In a new industrial park outside Montreal, municipal planners are quietly rezoning land, anticipating a major announcement. Lives, communities, and family futures hang in the balance. The intelligence and security dimension cannot be overstated. The modern car is a smartphone on wheels, a data collection platform of breathtaking scope. It knows where you go, what you listen to, even how you drive. The fear in U.S. security agencies is that data from Chinese EVs in Canada could be siphoned to Beijing, creating an intelligence bonanza. Even if the cars are assembled in Canada, the software and connectivity modules are designed in China. This is a cybersecurity threat embedded in the consumer market. Canada's response has been to promise rigorous security reviews under the Investment Canada Act, but critics argue the process is opaque and politically influenced, more focused on job creation than genuine national security. The credibility of Canada's entire security apparatus is now tied to its ability to vet these automotive giants. The environmental argument is the government's moral shield. Climate change is an existential threat. Chinese EVs are cheaper and accelerate adoption. Every gasoline-powered car they replace is a win for the planet. This green rationale is powerful, especially for the government's urban progressive base. It frames opposition as being anti-climate, pro-oil, and standing in the way of consumer choice. It is a compelling narrative in a country that views climate action as part of its national identity. The economic theory behind the move is one of brutal realism. Canada cannot win a subsidy war with the United States. Its treasury is smaller. The IRA is a massive gravitational pull, sucking capital and talent south. By aligning with the other global powerhouse in EV production, Canada seeks to create its own gravitational field. It can offer China secure access to critical minerals like lithium and cobalt, which are essential for batteries and which the U.S. is desperately trying to onshore. In return, Canada gets capital, technology, and a seat at the table in the industry of the future. It is a high-risk hedge against American dominance. The cultural resonance is profound. The automotive sector is woven into the identity of both nations. The rumble of a V8 engine is a symbol of American might. The quiet hum of an efficient EV is becoming a symbol of Canadian pragmatism and green values. This clash is more than economic. It is a clash of symbols of what each nation believes represents progress and power in the 21st century. The legal battlefield is being prepared. U.S. trade lawyers are examining whether Canada's consumer incentives for Chinese EVs constitute a prohibited subsidy under WTO rules. They are also looking at the USMCA's national security exemption, a clause rarely invoked between allies. Could the U.S. declare that Chinese EVs in Canada pose a national security threat to the United States and thereby suspend its auto trade obligations with Canada? The precedent would be devastating for the whole agreement. The potential for a localized trade war within the USMCA is now frighteningly real. As the story accelerates, we see the ripple effects. Auto parts suppliers, the unsung heroes of the industry, are recalculating. Do they continue supplying GM and Ford, or do they pitch their services to BYD? The entire supply chain is facing a moment of chaotic existential choice. Universities are establishing new research partnerships with Chinese automotive firms drawn by funding and cutting-edge tech, even as security officials warn of intellectual property theft. The very ecosystem is being rewired. The long-term strategic forecast is dark with conflict. A Trump administration could respond with explosive force. Imagine Section 232 tariffs on all Canadian automotive exports declared on national security grounds. The integrated production lines would snap. Plants on both sides of the border would shutter within weeks. The economic devastation would make the softwood lumber dispute look like a minor squabble. Canada's gamble is that the U.S. would not dare inflict such mutual destruction. But with Trump, conventional calculations of mutual assured economic destruction may not apply. The irony is thick. The USMCA was Trump's signature trade achievement, designed to bring manufacturing home and counter China. Its unintended consequence may be to push Canada, by necessity and exclusion, directly into China's economic orbit. The deal meant to fortify North America could be the very instrument of its fragmentation. This is the ultimate backfire. The final act is one of breathtaking uncertainty. Canada has placed a bet on a multipolar automotive world. It has decided it cannot rely on a single capricious partner to the south. In doing so, it has ignited the very conflict it sought to avoid. The warning lights are flashing red in Washington, Detroit, and Ottawa. The ships keep coming, the cars keep rolling off, the tensions keep rising. One thing is certain, the old rules of the road are gone. The race for the future of the auto industry has taken a sudden, dangerous turn, and in the driver's seat, navigating the sharpest curve in modern trade history is a nation often overlooked, Canada. Its choice will redefine North America for generations. The world is watching to see if this gamble leads to prosperity or provokes a ruinous collision.